Hi, I'm Tarinder, and you're watching HEXUS TV. I'm sitting next to Sean Maloney. Hi, Sean. Thanks for joining us.
Tarinder, great to see you.
Can you give us your full job title at Intel? It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer.
Right, and what does that entail on a day-to-day basis and something a bit longer term?
So on a day-to-day basis, I run our sales organisation around the world and then also the marketing. It means I spend a lot of my time with customers, whether it's customers who design computers or end consumers. Mm-hmm. So I spend a lot of the time looking at outside of the company and a huge amount of time in airplanes.
Right.
In travelling.
Mm. As a man who's responsible for sales, that's
Yeah.
almost 40 billion last year, and also the spending of some of that money too. What opportunities and difficulties do you face on a fairly regular basis? And with the economy slowing down, where do you see Intel's growth coming from?
Well, the economic slowdown hit everybody, particularly in the fourth quarter of last year. Sort of October, November was when it was maximum gloom everywhere. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely been a sort of stabilizing. You know, if I go look at all the countries where people were the most gloomy a few months ago, things have sort of stabilized. It's not that it's the end of bad news in the press or anything. You see bad news, but things have stabilized to some reasonable extent. You're still looking at a world where only a tiny number of people have notebooks.
Right.
So the big opportunity for the computer industry is notebooks or super small computers or portable computers, call them what you will. The other sort of good news thing in the industry is the internet, independent of the economy, continues to get deeper into people's lives and the traffic volume continues to go up. So the intersection of all of that is an ever-growing opportunity.
So you'd want to provide silicon for the internet. Doesn't matter which device it goes on. You see that as a catalyst for growth.
We have a view on the kinds of devices for sure, right? Because we've got to design this stuff 3 or 4 years out. So we need to have a view about design. We're not agnostic completely. From our point of view, we obviously want the devices to be reasonably sophisticated and either need very good battery life or reasonable performance. But yeah, you're broadly right.
Coming back to Atom, it's been a pretty good success for you guys in the majority of netbooks and nettops. But looking at Q1 2009 results, I think it makes up about 3% of your revenue. Do you see that growing? I presume you do. And which other areas alongside something portable? Or do you see other portable areas, where growth can occur?
You've obviously done your math on the numbers. I can't remember whether they're exactly right or not. The idea of the Atom is that it's a very small, full-function microprocessor that has got software compatibility. It turns out that the most useful place for that is in anything that's connected to the internet. So whether it's a small computer or some of the newer markets like connecting cars to the internet or security cameras to the internet or healthcare devices. So you're going to see that Atom going into lots and lots of anything that's connected to the internet is where there's a chance for the Atom to get used. And then just generally conventional notebooks. Right. Those are the hottest selling items in stores. And so that area is very promising. And the final note is that thin is in. Computers are going to get thinner and thinner and thinner, and the battery life is going to get to be more and more of a deal. So we think it's going to be routine for notebooks to need 5, 6, 7, 8 hours of battery life.
Right, come back to Atom in a moment, but you've released CULV laptops or notebooks, or that genre, and it fits, as I understand it, somewhere between a netbook and a fully fledged notebook. Can you define it exactly from Intel's point of view and the kind of pricing you expect partners to charge?
Yeah, so it's actually, let me just explain to your viewers here. It's ultra low voltage, and it's a family of products. all the way from entry-level products. You can think of them like Celeron up through the mainstream products, the core products. So it's a family of very low power consuming products that go on all of the price points. So what that means is you're going to see cheap thin notebooks, and you're going to see mainstream thin notebooks. So in every price category there's going to be a lower voltage equivalent. It won't perform quite as well, it won't be quite as powerful, but it'll be much more miserly on power consumption. So it's not quite right to say it fits in between a netbook and a notebook. It's actually a whole range of products.
Right. And
so the whole industry is kind of, a big piece of the industry is going to make a shift towards thinner.
And more power frugal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Coming back to Atom, you've explained that you can put it in a variety of devices.
Yeah.
Competitors such as ARM have been doing that for some time.
Yeah.
Where do you think you've got a competitive advantage compared to them? They have so much history in pioneering hardware and also talking to their customers in terms of software.
Yeah.
So where does Intel fit into this?
So if you look at typically our power consumption is higher than a typical ARM power consumption. So that means we tend to be in larger devices, and so we sort of targeted a slightly different area. The thing that we have that is an advantage is you can have complete PC software compatibility. So if you wanted to have a device like a small handheld computer that had complete PC software compatibility, then Atom has an advantage there. It turns out that's quite a big deal because software is very complex, and it's in any engineering development project, software often tends to be the critical gating item. So having software compatibility really helps. But we are really in a slightly different segment to the mainstream ARM segment.
Do you think you'll move down into their bread and butter segment as you go forward, looking at Lincroft future architectures? And they seem to be doing the converse, where they're coming up almost into the netbook category. So there's going to be a fight in a few months, even next year. How do you see their efforts panning out in the netbook space?
We'll see. We're definitely going to reduce our power consumption and continue to do it. And I think you'll see the various ARM implementers also then driving up in performance. You could describe that as a fight, or you could describe it as innovation. I think you'll see a lot of companies doing things, and I think that's good. I think it means it'll keep us on our toes, and it'll give new markets for the ARM guys to go after as well. So I think one of the things you saw at Computex this week is you did see a lot of innovation in that space, and I genuinely think that's great. It's good to have that.
Again, this is a lot about Atom, but you've signed a deal with TSMC for them to manufacture Atom parts. Yeah. It's a bit more complicated than that. Can you explain why Intel went down that route when you are a first-class engineering and manufacturing company?
Yeah, what a lot of people have done over the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of companies have done, is they've built up big libraries of their own intellectual property in TSMC. What I mean by that is there are companies who've got their own I/O technology, or their own graphics technology, or video technology, or communications technology, and they have it in TSMC's foundry. And so putting putting Atom in there and enabling people to use their own IP around it, means we can expand the market and give more choice, basically.
Is that so they can implement system-on-chip devices of their own, which they couldn't do because they never had access to a powerful enough CPU? Is that what you're saying, or is it slightly different to that?
It means people could do different. They could have different SoC options, or we could make. We can come up with things for our customers that will allow them to use technology that they have on TSMC.
But you retain the right as to who uses what with Atom.
Correct. We're not saying, hey, everybody can have it and do what they want with it. We're going to license it. So that we want to keep software compatibility and a number of other things. So we'll be fairly cautious of the way we do that.